HOA fined me for fishing, so I bought the lake and banned the entire neighborhood forever. Ethan had always been a man of the water. The lake behind his modest home in the upscale Karen Pines neighborhood was his sanctuary, a place where the ripples of the world faded into the gentle lapping of waves. Every morning, he'd sit on the rickety dock, fishing rod in hand, casting lines not just for fish but for peace. The lake wasn't his not legally, but it felt like home, a quiet rebellion against the manicured lawns and judgmental glances of his neighbors. Karen Pines was a community of rules, where every blade of grass was measured, and every infraction was a scandal. Ethan, with his weathered jacket and unpolished boots, was a walking violation in their eyes. The trouble began with a letter. It arrived in a crisp envelope, stamped with the Karen Pines Homeowners Association, HOA logo. Cease and desist all unauthorized fishing activities. It read, citing some obscure bylaw about private lake access. Ethan laughed it off at first. The lake was there before the neighborhood, before the HOAs and their clipboard-wielding enforcers. But the fines came next $50, then $200, then a threat to lien his house. The HOA board, led by Margaret, a woman with a smile as sharp as a paper cut, made it personal. "We're protecting property values, Mr. Hale," she said at a community meeting, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your fishing is a disturbance." Ethan tried reasoning. He offered to fish at dawn out of sight. He even proposed a community fishing day, thinking it might soften their hearts. But the board was relentless, their rules a fortress. Neighbors he'd once waved to now avoided his gaze, whispering about that troublemaker. The lake, once his refuge, became a battleground. Each fine felt like a lash, each letter a declaration of war. Ethan wasn't rich, but he was stubborn, and he had one thing the HOA didn't: a past they couldn't touch. Years ago, Ethan had been a lawyer, sharp and ambitious, until a case defending a corrupt developer broke him. He'd walked away, trading suits for solitude, vowing never to play dirty again. But the HOA's crusade rekindled something in him, a spark of defiance. He started digging, researching the lake's history. That's when he found it. A loophole in the county records. The lake wasn't owned by the HOA or even the neighborhood. It was private land, tied to an old estate, and it was for sale. Ethan cashed out his savings, sold his truck, and took a loan against his house. He didn't tell a soul, not even his sister, Lila, who worried he was losing himself to obsession. When the deal closed, Ethan owned the lake, every inch of its shimmering surface. The HOA didn't know until the signs went up: private property, no trespassing. He stood on the shore, watching Margaret's face twist as she read the bold letters. For the first time, he felt powerful. But power has a way of twisting the heart. Ethan didn't stop at owning the lake. He banned the entire neighborhood, every resident, every dog walker, every jogger who'd once strolled its banks. He posted security cameras, hired a guard, and even rerouted the community path to skirt his property. The lake, once a shared space, became his fortress. Children who'd played on its shores were turned away. Neighbors who'd ignored him now begged for access. But Ethan was done compromising. "You wanted rules?" he told Margaret at a heated town hall. "Here's mine." The twist came unexpectedly. Lila, his sister, showed up one evening, not with her usual warmth but with a stranger boy, no older than 10, named Sam. Sam's mother, a single parent in Karen Pines, had died months earlier, and Sam had been sneaking to the lake at night, scattering her ashes in secret. It was his way of saying goodbye. Lila's eyes were pleading. "He's not like them, Ethan. He's just a kid." Ethan's resolve wavered. Sam's quiet grief mirrored his own loss the HOA's rules couldn't touch. For a moment, Ethan saw the lake through Sam's eyes. Not a battlefield, but a place of healing. He let Sam stay just for one night. They sat on the dock, fishing in silence, the boy's small hands clutching the rod Ethan had given him. The stars reflected on the water, and Ethan felt the weight of his victory shift. The neighborhood's exclusion had been his justice, but it had also made him a gatekeeper, no better than the HOA he despised. He'd won the lake, but at what cost? The next morning, he found Sam's small thank you note on the dock, a folded paper with a child's scrawl. "Thanks for letting me say goodbye." Ethan never opened the lake to the neighborhood again. His signs stayed up, his cameras rolled, and the HOA seethed in silence. But Sam's note stayed in his pocket, a reminder of what he'd become. The lake was his, but so was the loneliness. He'd fought for freedom only to build his own prison. The neighborhood moved on, their lives untouched by the lake's absence, while Ethan sat alone, casting lines into a victory that felt more like defeat. Was Ethan's revenge justified, or did he become the very thing he fought against? Share your thoughts on justice, community, and the cost of standing alone.